Welcome to Documentary First, an inside look at a first-time filmmaker's journey. I am your host, Josh Lindsay from the Movie Proposal Podcast. And with us is our first-time filmmaker, Christian Taylor.
Hey there, Josh Lindsay.
And when I say with us, I don't actually mean with us. We are on a Zoom conference call looking on a screen because we are practicing social distancing, the latest, greatest fad across the land. And also, air quotes, with us is the awesome button-pushing, couldn't do it without you guy, Jason Rugg.
Hey there. Although I'm not really pushing any buttons this time.
Well, we still want to be able to do this without you. So thank you. So
that's fair.
It has been a while since we have recorded, and Christian has been on many adventures up until adventures came to a screeching halt and you're sent back to your room.
Yes, I'm in time out, actually.
Yes, we all are.
Like
so you took a trip to Michelin, which we talked a little bit about. So why don't you bring us up to speed on that?
Yeah, so right now we're recording. Today is Monday, March 30th. I do want to talk a little bit about kind of where we are in the world. Right now we are located physically in Illinois. We're sort of all in the Wheaton, Illinois area. And like the rest of the world, we were told we had to stay at home through the end of April. So another 4 weeks of the social distancing, 5 weeks and being at home. It's going to be quite a long time. And when we last spoke was March 5th. We were all in the studio together. It was right before I headed out to Michelin to pitch them to be our corporate sponsor and to show the film. And this sort of virus came to America right after our podcast. And there was some question about whether we were going to go at all. And we ended up going to Michelin, and it was me and Flavie and Thomas went with me, and Michelle Perkins, my assistant. And oh my goodness, I just called her Michelle. Her name is really Melissa. I don't know why I call her Michelle. Sorry, Michelle. Sorry, Melissa. Anyway, so we all went. I flew, the rest drove. We met in Greenville, South Carolina, headquarters of Michelin. And they really were going to cancel and then decided not to at the last minute. We were incredibly happy. We also had David Patterson, our executive producer, join us. And when we got there to Michelin, they did ask you, had you been anywhere where you might have been exposed? You had to go through a sort of screening to get in the building. There is hand sanitizer everywhere. They were being very careful. And they were all trying to figure out, what is the company, the worldwide company of Michelin going to do? So I was just so surprised that they ended up having us to begin with. But we were there on Friday, March 13th, or 12th, actually, Thursday, March 12th. And we were in the headquarters doing a luncheon for their Veterans Resource Business Group. And, it was a lot of veterans that worked for Michelin that were there. We did a presentation where we showed them about the story, how we met. We showed a lot of videos. Flavie and Thomas talked and told their story. And we invited people to come to the screening the next day. We had an overwhelming response. People were just so excited and enthusiastic. And then on the 13th, we were at the Peace Center, which is just, have you ever been to Greenville, South Carolina? It is beautiful town, super cool college town, lots of amazing stores, just really eclectic, artsy downtown area. And the Peace Center is a big, huge kind of complex that is very peaceful right by this river and very beautiful. And they have several performance spaces there. We were in a smaller one called the Gunter Theater, but it still sat 400 people in this cozy old looking theater. It was just super cool. And we were really skeptical that we would have anyone show up because at this point they had basically said, stay home. But we were in the South, quite frankly. And a lot of people at that point where we were intentionally shaking hands, intentionally coming out. to show that they were not afraid of this virus and that they didn't really believe that it was as big of a deal as everybody was making it up to be. So we did end up having about 160 people that came to the screening on the night of the 13th. And the Michelin Man showed up. That was pretty exciting. The Michelin Man and the girl who wore freedom together at last. It was just awesome. And it was one of my favorite screenings. The people there were so passionate and excited. We had a French family that was there. We had people that had lived in France before. We had people from, employees that had been there. So we showed the film, and we had the very first real question and answer session I've ever had after a film. And that was so amazing. People actually asked questions about how we did this and what it was like. And so Flavie and Thomas got to answer questions, as did our executive producer, David Patterson, and David Chapman, who now works for Michelin, was also there with us, one of our cast members. So
Oh, wow.
it was a super exciting time. We raised about $1,000 that night. And so it was an amazing success. And the next day, the town of Greenville shut down and the Peace Center had no more screenings.
Wow.
Wow.
We got it in right under the wire. We were also able to make our pitch to a vice president at Michelin, just having them come on board. And it sounds like the most viable option for them to partner with us might be through a grant from their foundation. So the next step is connecting them with our grant writer and starting to get to work on a grant, perhaps.
Who's the grant writer?
So our grant writer is Virginia Schaefer. She actually is a very successful grant writer for Wheaton College, and she's volunteered her time to help us. So
That's great.
She's written about 6 for us, I think, none of which we have been successful at acquiring. But I think it's very tough, and you really do have to have an in sometimes to be able to be awarded those grants. So we're hoping that maybe this will help us. But as you can imagine, since that time, everything's come to a screeching halt. So we were very blessed to have one of our repeat donors give us $1,000 this week or last week. And I was so incredibly thankful, because all of our donations have stopped, understandably so. But it is going to make it very difficult to continue moving forward without that support.
Well, maybe this is a forced reprieve, a rest. You can think, your hands are tied, and you just gotta take a break.
No.
And come June,
No.
you'll be right back at it.
No, that's not it. There is no rest for the weary. We've been very busy. I don't know if you know this, but we are a virtual film company. And so we have been working this way. Zoom has been one of our very main tools from the very beginning that we have used to do this film. Zoom and Google Drive and Trello, and what are our other ones that we use? Phones. So we, Dropbox we use a lot. So we have a lot of virtual tools that we use all the time to get our work done. So we've continued to work, and we are still have our sights set on film festivals. So as of right now, we've entered 32, and we should start hearing back about those in about 2 weeks as to whether or not we got in. The first one is the Sheffield Documentary Film Festival in Sheffield, England. I'm sure pretty soon they are going to have to make an announcement about what they're going to do. My guess is they're not going to have a regular film festival. But we'll just have to see what's going to happen there. But nonetheless, we do still have, we do still have work to do. And, I can fill you in on where we are. We've had some major accomplishments last week that I'm super proud of. So I'd love to share those with you next time, maybe.
That sounds good. Well, why don't we wrap up here? Very exciting about Michelin. It's kind of a pause button right now, but we know in the weeks to come there'll be more information on that. And we'll pick up in the next podcast to hear about some exciting other news that Christian has. So thanks for listening, everyone, to Documentary First, where we believe everyone has a story to tell, and you can be the one to tell it.
Bye, everybody.